What's up, team? What is up? What is up? Sorry for screaming in your ear. Sorry. How is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Let me see. Let me see. Batman Gamer, come on. What's up? Love the name. Love the name. Love to see it. Florentina, how are you doing? How are you doing? Husan, Carlos, Panda. Of course, Panda is the first. Of course, Panda is the first. Love to see it. Love to see it. How is everyone doing? Joining from Kenya. These videos are so educative. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Love to see it. Love to see it. Holy bro, scares. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry. I realized after I did it, I was like, oh, maybe a little bit too loud. Let me see. Let me see. How is everyone doing? How has everyone's week been? How has everyone's week been? Orlando. Are from the Netherlands? Yes, I'm from the Netherlands. Yes, correct, correct. You're changing lives. Love to hear it, DK. Love to hear it. Thank you. Ciao. Christian, how are you doing? How are you doing, my friend? Love to see it. My first live. Hey, welcome to the team, Spider. Welcome to the live team. Once you go back, come on. You can't go. Once you go, you can't go back anymore. Come on. Once you're in the rabbit hole, you can't go out anymore. You know it. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Thank you. You've changed everything about trading for me. I was at the verge of giving up until I found you. Now I'm just forward testing and I have a 100% win rate with risk to reward of 123.56, risking 0 to 75%. That is insane, Victor. And again, that is all thanks to you, Victor. That is all credits to you. All credits to you in that regard. All credits to you. That is insane. That is insane. All in full margin with the positions today and yesterday, correct? Yes. Full margin positions. No. Don't do anything. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything. Don't do anything crazy. PS being mad expected during this quarter. Oh, yeah, exactly. Price action overall has just been. It's been. It's like what is it? I mentioned it during every live stream so far. It's like price action looks like it's going to do something nice, and then it just the delivery is just honest to God, it's just shit. So yeah, that is me. That is more so it. I sent you an email. Where can I? Yeah, as soon as possible. Swiftloss. Actually today. So expect an answer today. I will go over my Dutch emails today because I label them differently, my Dutch emails. So that is usually why Dutch emails have a little bit of a later reply. It's because I label them differently. But as soon as possible, today. 50 loss, baby. Did you take trades this week? No, I did not take any trades. But I'm about to potentially take a trade. It's more so, and let me talk you through the thought process right here. So, first of all, of course, I think everyone is aware that it is CPI and FOMC week, meaning that on Tuesday we have CPI. On what is it? Hey, Matai. Thank you. Wait, let me first go over this question. Thank you, Matai. Thank you. How many trades do you take per week per pair? Really depends on the situation. On average, I would say I take one trade a week. That is a high probability trade. But that is mainly in good months as well. In December, I have not taken a trade just yet. And that is mainly because December just hasn't been favorable to me. I didn't really like what I'm seeing. So hopefully that makes sense. And to go over my story again, is we have CPI and FOMC. CPI, of course, on Tuesday. Today, we have, of course, FOMC. So how do you approach that? That is mainly what I wanted to go over as well. How do you actually approach CPI plus FOMC in that case? Well, first of all, it's important to understand when we have those big three news events, because that is, of course, CPI, FOMC, and NFP, when you have them in a row, meaning that one day you have one news event and then the next day you have the other big three news event. So, for example, sometimes we also have FOMC on Wednesday and then you have CPI on Thursday. Also sometimes happens. And when that happens, you always wait for that latest day. So the last day to happen, because that is actually where the volatility comes in. Meaning what you're seeing here on CPI was not that crazy because CPI, yes, there's volatility coming in, but it didn't really move. As in, if we look at where it actually moved towards, it's like this candle right there was responsible for the open somewhere around that time frame for the CPI to open. It's at the exact same spot. It didn't move. So that is usually what you see when you have those big 3 news events on in consecutive days. So Tuesday and Wednesday, for this example, that is usually where Wednesday after the FOMC, then you have the real move happening. Which also means that I do not trade Monday, I do not trade Tuesday, I do not trade Wednesday. After Wednesday FOMC happens, that is when the real move starts to happen. Meaning I want to get involved after that. Because before that, we can just consolidate, mess around, manipulate, take people out of the market before the actual real move happens. And that is very important to understand as well, because I see quite a few people actually trying to get involved on what is it, on EU, on GU, etc. There's just no need. There's just no need. You're better off on that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday trying to trade crosses. So crosses right there is everything that doesn't have the dollar linked to it directly. So indirectly, of course, yes, but directly it's not in the name. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Is there US dollar in the name? No. So that is something you can take a look at, for example, when you have those days, if it wants to deliver. So that is how I usually approach these weeks as well. And then on Thursday and Friday, that is where your main focus should be on the US dollar pairs, because that is where the volatility is going to be. So, for example, if Australian dollar, US dollar finally wants to deliver, then we will see FOMC do something like this. Thursday, retracement. Friday, boom. That will happen very, very, very fast. So we know that right there, we don't want to take a lot of hits before we actually get the right move. As in, trading, and this is very important, right? And this is often an overlooked fact, that trading, and especially when you're getting to more capital, when, well, very simply said, when you just have a funded account, etc., that you're not willing to lose. For example, if you have a 500K account, I'm not really willing to lose that account. Doesn't matter if I can afford a new one. I just don't want to go over that pain again to get that account, etc., all over again. Imagine if you're trading investors at capital. You can't risk to do anything stupid. So with something stupid, I mean, not necessarily stupid, but it's just an overlooked fact in trading that we don't want to take a lot of losses before we want to take a winner, right? That's just the essential, the basis of being profitable. And then I don't really understand why people try to trade these conditions. I truly don't, because these conditions are just not high probability. So essentially what you're doing is you're sacrificing 3 days to get a whole next month worth of bias. Because the next time we have NFP is in January or something like that. So you're sacrificing 3 days right there to get such a clear bias eventually that it doesn't make a lot of sense to trade these days, in my opinion. And as well, data opinion. So of course, the data doesn't lie. These days are just way lower probability. So that makes it very easy to then stay out of the market. So what did we talk about right here on the dollar? If we go to forecast, then we said, all right, this right there, that high is sort of the last line of defense. As in, if we want to continue lower and we do come above that high right there, then I would argue, all right, we should sweep those highs to then continue lower. If we do not do that, then we might be targeting those highs right now. So currently we have somewhat of a bearish price action, but we also need to understand, ahead of big 3 news events, whatever you're seeing price action wise. So for example, these vervigaps lower right there, that's just pure manipulation most of the time. And it's just not really what price action actually wants to do. So for example, let me show you as well. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Before the actual move happens, we had a vervigap higher right there. That's not the real move, because first of all, we have a weekly vervigap right there, which if we want to continue higher, we will continue higher off of that. Then also we have news. So whatever news tells us what it wants to do, that is what it actually will do. So after FOMC, we will get a clear idea on what it actually wants to do. So that also leads to a pretty easy forecast, I would say. And this is what I do like about NFP and FOMC and CPI, because the forecast becomes quite easy. I don't need to get involved ahead of that time, because I know that ahead of the time, I don't even want to get involved because there's no risk management involved. If you're getting in the market ahead of the time, so on the actual news release, for example, here on US dollar, let me see, on this CPI move right there. If you get involved right there and you had this short ID, then you did not get filled on those highs. Yes, if you were trading demo, perfectly fine. Flex those demo profits right there. You got filled at that exact spot. If you traded live right there, those CPI conditions, you would have gotten filled at that spot. Meaning you're risking 4% of your trade, of your account, to actually make what? 2%? That's negative RR. That is gambling. That is not trading. So again, that's just the basis of trading. And when there's no risk management involved, of course, it becomes gambling. Risk management allows us to be in the game, allows us to be traders in the first place. So it's always quite funny to me when I see people on Twitter trying to get involved, etc. It's a little bit, well, I don't want to say too much about it, but it's a little bit stupid in my opinion. Because you don't understand the basis of trading, which is risk management. So going over the dollar without too much renting is right here, is just simply waiting. If FOMC wants to do something like this to then continue lower, we will see it happening. We will react. We will adapt right there. So yes, that's quite scary, right? Not knowing what it wants to do right now and then reacting after the fact on whatever it wants to do. I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with reacting right now to see, all right, what does it actually want to do? Because here, to be honest, I could see both scenarios play out. I could see bullish price action right here to target those highs. I could also see bearish price action because overall we have been bearish right there. Although the signs right there have not been really bearish on the daily fair value gaps, etc. So right there, I could see both scenarios, meaning I just simply want to wait for whatever FOMC wants to do. And that is in, what is it, 3 hours? 3 hours, I believe, where we have FOMC first and then we have the FOMC press conference as well. So just waiting for all that shenanigans to happen and then looking to get involved. Which here on ES, I think the draw on liquidity is quite clear right there. Even if FOMC wants to sweep those highs to then continue lower, I think the draw on liquidity overall is quite clear, as in those highs are looking quite nice right there. So on the 4 hour here, we are just following through on that right there. That is potentially what we can also look at eventually. Nasdaq is quite funny. And it's quite funny here. And I'm going to give you some insights for the money making team as well. Because for us, it's quite obvious that this high right there, that just wants to hold. And I do not really understand why a lot of people, after months and months of bullish price action right there, are all of a sudden trying to call top. Then your whole foundation, your whole mindset of trading is also wrong. If you're trying to call a top right there, you had all this price action right there to follow through. So I don't know how many 15-minute candles are inside that monthly candle that right there you could have caught to go look for some new buys, to look for some bullish price action. And all of a sudden, people are trying to short price action right there. Make it make sense. Sometimes it's just, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything, so I might be very harsh this live stream. I'm not trying to be. I'm just not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm just trying to show you my perspective. That sometimes all it takes is a little bit of logic. Where if we've just gone higher for months and months of price action, then why do you think a 15-minute reversal, potential reversal, should all of a sudden hold? Huh? What? It doesn't make any sense in my eyes. But again, let me show you the thought process right here to actually make it make sense, of course. Because Ario, if what should we have done then? Well, what you should do in this scenario is we have that monthly context right there. So we are following through on those, and we follow through on the highs right there. And then afterwards, we have a weekly fair value gap sitting right there. So the weekly fair value gap, like we talked about, that can be the narrative, the second foundational level, where we have the bias overall is the monthly high sitting right there. And then after that monthly high, it very simply becomes this high right there. Because there's nothing here, there's nothing, no fair value gaps. So if there's no fair value gaps, nothing to rebalance. So price wants to continue higher potentially towards new all-time highs right there over the long term. Yes, short term, we can potentially look for low prices. Long term, bullish. So here on the weekly fair value gaps right there to continue higher from creates just simply that context, that narrative. How are we going to deliver there? Weekly fair value gap. Then the first target is this high. Second target, of course, if we take that high, there's no stopping, as in we are also going to take that high for certain. We are going to take that high. So then afterwards, what do? Once we take those highs and context is gone, you go look at the lower time frame, on the time frames below the weekly, for new context. Meaning on the daily right there, did we have context at the moment that we swept those highs right there? No, not yet. We did not have daily fair value gap or anything just yet. So what do you do in this scenario? You are allowed to go down another time frame. So on the 4 hour right there, you go down another time frame. Where here on the 4 hour, we see what? Overlapping highs with fair value gaps and fair value overall right there to continue higher off of that. Wow. And that is just simply following the higher time frame. So there's zero reason to look for shorts right there. Zero reason. So next thing to understand is as well that, well, first of all, we had a beautiful market maker buy model right there. But other than that, it's fair value here. What does that mean? Well, overall, if we understand the market runs on fair value and rebalancing fair value is the same thing. So when I talk about rebalancing and fair value, I basically talk about the same thing. And or it's trying to find liquidity, seek liquidity. That's also what the market does. So seek liquidity or offer fair value. So since the market is offered fair value to allow people to get into the market equally, etc., then right here we had a move higher. This offers buy side, so buyers to get into the market. Left a fair value gap. So right there we come back. We offer sell side right there. Then once we offer that sell side, we then offer buy side again. What does that make? Well, this area right here is what? That whole area is fair value. Why? Because buy side and sell side got offered, which means that on the 4 hour time frame, if we look at that, then the fair value gap overlapping with the highs, which is already fair value, that should hold. So if the first indication, let me actually show you the full thought process right here. If I was to take shorts, then we should disrespect that fair value gap right there and should have created a bearish fair value gap right there. Then I would have happily looked at shorts. Other than that, this was always bullish and there was no discussion about it. So that is very important to understand as well. And that is how you would overall, it helps. And again, I the way I see it is those concepts that we are going over here, they help you understand where price is going. Objectively speaking, I already know where I want to get involved. I already know what my entry pattern is, but they help you to guide you towards, the concept helps you to guide towards those understandings. That is very important. So as well, when I'm adding into, this is very funny because we do deep work sessions in the money making team. And when I do deep work sessions, I basically also discover things that, that add on to the understanding we already have. So, well, that's actually very funny because I always call it full transparency, where every money making team concept that I come up with is shown in real time how I developed that concept, which is quite funny. And I don't want to brag or anything. That's not my intention. But what I mean by that is that all those concepts, like that fair value one, they add on to my experience, add on to my sort of subconscious, you could call it, where it adds to my experience, to my intuition part of trading, and it adds to the idea overall of where price wants to go. Where a lot of people are trying to use concepts in an objective manner right there, which we also do, don't get me wrong, because the trading plan is 80% mechanical. But a lot of people try to incorporate one concept and try to look at it only through that lens, if that makes sense, which that, of course, is just not really beneficial. So right here on NASDAQ, I do think we can also continue higher. Now, if FOMC wants to prove me wrong, then we should disrespect right there these highs with those fair value gaps right there. So if we get something like this, then I would say, I'm wrong, and I would love to see price continue lower. That is exactly my thought process right there. But to finish off my rant right there is is if I'm wrong on my analysis right there, the difference between someone that was wrong trying to catch the 15-minute top right there and the difference between me being wrong, I lost a little bit of ego. We both lost a little bit of ego potentially, but I didn't lose any money on being wrong right there. And that is the goal. That is the goal. And that leads me back to, I didn't take any losses before the right move happened. And that is the goal right there. Where if you're trying to catch a 15-minute top, if you try long enough and you try right there, and then we try right there, and then we try right there, then we eventually are going to catch that 15-minute top. And it gives you bragging rights. As in, you can go into Twitter, Instagram, and you can say, wow, I caught the top right there. And especially if we delete those, then right there, we just call one winner, right? And what I'm trying to show you right there is, again, yes, we can call that top. Do we want to? No. Because we don't want to take many losses before we take the winner. Which leaves us to needing just simply extra confirmation right there. So we might not be fancy on Twitter, on Instagram, etc. But we are actual traders. So we are actually making money. So at the end of the day, I think that is the thing that matters. So that is quite important to understand as well. So if we move on to YM, right there. And YM, we did not come into the weekly value gap. And I did expect it actually. And we did not do that. All right, perfect. So here we can also just look to continue higher overall. Which right there on the daily time frame, daily fair value gap as well, could be quite nice to continue higher off of that. Then on DAX, let's take a look. So on DAX, this is always a little bit of a difficult situation right here because, well, it's not really difficult. It's quite easy. And I went over it in the Sunday weekly forecast as well, where if you do not have a clear drawn liquidity anymore, as in, for example, sometimes pairs make new all-time highs. Some instruments make new all-time highs. Where once we have new all-time highs, you don't really have anything to target to the left side of the chart. That leads to me, what I do is very simply said, is we need to retrace. Why do we need to retrace? Because when we create that retracement and we continue higher of the overlapping highs right there, fair value gap, overlapping highs, that creates a new drawn liquidity to the left right there in the form of that retracement lag. So then we can look to target higher again. So that is something on DAX. It's also something on Nifty right there, where it's just, yeah, you can't really do anything. As in, you can try to catch a top again, but that is not high probability. That is not what you want to do. Unless we get clear signs that it is actually a top, which these are just the first signs right there. So that first fair value gap lower is not enough. I would want to say, all right, let's create another fair value gap lower to then target the overlapping part right there and then potentially continuing higher. So that is how I view that as well. Which on Australian dollar, US dollar, we can see weekly fair value gap right there. It's currently just simply waiting as well for FOMC. So here, well, that means I'm also waiting for FOMC, where we just didn't really get the price action higher. On that Tuesday again, yes, we have volatility coming into the market, but overall, it's just not making that move yet. It's waiting for FOMC. Once we have that FOMC statement, then we can see, all right, we might want to continue higher. We might want to continue higher or disrespect everything and continue lower right there. Could also very well be the case, of course. So keep an open mind in that. Then on EU right here. On EU, again, this is a pair where currently I need FOMC to tell me what it wants to do. Now, I have one thing that I want to go over as well on EU, where the last line of defense, and not the last line of defense as in the swing high or swing low, not that last line of defense, but we have this swing or potential swing low. We have that previous week low right there. If we want to continue higher right here, then we have the order block, the weekly fair value gap, and the previous week low. So the last thing right there that it can do is sweep that previous week low to then potentially continue higher. So meaning that if it does not sweep that or does not already continue higher here, then I would expect lower prices overall, which also becomes important to understand the monthly right there, because that will prevent the monthly fair value gap from being potentially created. Very important to understand right there as well. So that creates what? Well, that creates a boundary, because right now I would be bullish. But if I see signs like that right there, those are the boundaries for me to be bearish. So that is how I view that as well. Then on GU. GU is the exact same thing right here. Previous week low sweep could definitely be happening to then continue higher off of that. If that happens, I would just simply want to see, again, a nice 4-hour fair value gap higher to then potentially Thursday and Friday get involved. So then on New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Now this is one I quite like. And let me take you through the thought process again. Here we have that weekly fair value gap, which we talked about. We can sting into that to then target higher. So that previous week high right there is the high, the first target that we encounter. After that, we can of course look to target this high eventually, but this high is the first target. Perfect. So on the daily right there, We don't really have anything, although we have that sweep right there, but that's just the weekly Vervai gap. It's the most important part. Then on the 4 hour, we have right now an ST, a 4 hour ST in the making, which is very nice because that 4 hour ST can already potentially be an entry in itself. And that 4 hour ST can now allow you to use the 4 hour ST as your PD rate to trade off of, which means that that 4 hour PD rate is where you can now go into the 5 minutes to look for your ST plus re. So that could also be very interesting. Only thing I want to do right there is I want to wait. I want to wait for FOMC first. Because let's say the dollar wants to continue higher right there, then New Zealand dollar, US dollar, what does it want to do after FOMC? Boom, continue lower. So that is very important that I wait for FOMC first. Wait for FOMC to show its hand. Then after, I just want to ride the wave, where I sacrifice a little bit of time to potentially have very high probability price action on Thursday and Friday. Very easy price action to navigate. Could be very nice as well. So this is currently really high on my interest list, as I always call it. And this is one I'm definitely interested in if after FOMC it is still interesting, of course. If not, then I just remove it off of my list. USD Canadian dollar is not something I'm interested in. And again, it's just very wicky, no fair value gaps. We talked about last fair value gap being created almost a month ago, actually, which is not something I want to get involved in at all. USD CHF right here. We have the weekly fair value gap still sitting right there. So if FOMC has enough volatility and the dollar wants to actually continue lower, then it can do something like this to continue lower. So could be nice, but definitely not on my interest list, so I would call it. US dollar JPY. So let's see. Here we can also look to continue lower. We had a huge fair value gap right there. And it's quite funny because I also mentioned on the forecast, and was it the mention forecast or the huge forecast, where I mentioned that daily fair value gaps like that, yes, they show intention, but the bigger the fair value gap does not always mean the stronger the fair value gap. I would say the opposite is true, where the smaller the fair value gap, the weaker the fair value gap, and also the bigger the fair value gap, usually the weaker the fair value gap. So what I mean by that big fair value gaps usually are some kind of manipulation. They are either manipulation or they want to come into an overlapping part to continue lower off of that. Big fair value gaps like this is where very rarely, almost never, you see a sting into the fair value gap like we usually expect and to then continue lower. No. Overlapping part or it's manipulation right there. So that is also what I want to see. So right there, all I wanted to see is, all right, if this wants to be bearish, then I just want to see 4 hour fair value gaps right there start to hold, which could also be the case right there. Leads me to the same point that, of course, this analysis is great. Overall, what do? We still wait for FOMC and then we look to get involved. Which is the same for silver and gold as well, right there. Which I just want to wait for FOMC to show me what it actually wants to do. This is actually kind of nice sweep though. I'm not going to lie. That is kind of an interesting sweep. Where if we sweep that, then the first target would be that daily fair value gap. Right there, potentially after FOMC. It's quite interesting. It's quite a nice sweep. Let's see on the 1 hour. What did we do? Interesting. Interesting. All right. So right here, I just simply want to wait for FOMC. Same for silver right there. And silver came into the daily fair value gap to continue lower off of that, potentially looking for those targets. It really depends on what FOMC wants to do. I promise you, we're also getting into pairs where I don't need to wait for FOMC. So it's going to be a little bit more fun. All right, Bitcoin right here. Bitcoin, we talked about Sunday weekly forecast. We mentioned Bitcoin right there. That is sweeping that context high. And when it sweeps that context high, then this is the first target after that. So that is the first target we reached. Now, eventually we can still look to continue higher here. So weekly fair value gap could be ideal right there to continue higher off of that. If it does not want to do that and already create a daily fair value gap higher as well, then I would say, all right, let's look to continue higher off of that already. But weekly fair value gap would be ideal right there. Crude oil. So crude oil finally delivering lower as well, with targets being right there. Keeping in mind that we are creating a weekly fair value gap. So what we can do, and this is actually the video that we are going to go over Saturday, where how can we anticipate that we want to trade into the weekly fair value gap? That's going to be well, an early insight right here on what we are going to talk about on Saturday. But Saturday, we reinforced the idea, of course, and it's going to be more clear. Trading into a fair value gap right there is being told by the fair value gaps. So what do I mean by that? If we want to trade into a higher time frame fair value gap, that will be told, that story will be told by what the fair value gaps are telling us on the time frame below that higher time frame fair value gap. So here on the daily time frame right there, the daily time frame will tell us if it wants to trade into the weekly fair value gap right there. Meaning, for example, if we do not create that fair value gap right there, if we sweep this context low, which currently we might definitely be doing, to then create bullish fair value gaps right there on the 4 hour, to then look to trade into the weekly value gap, to then look to continue lower. So that is very interesting as well. And that is what we're going to touch on way more in depth in the video. But that is how you would see, do we actually come into the weekly value gap right there or not? Which, as a general rule of thumb, if we close above this low right there on a weekly basis, then the next week we trade into that weekly fair value gap right there. So that is very important to understand. Overall, still bearish, but I would definitely want to take into account the creation. It's not a weekly value gap just yet, but the creation of the weekly value gap. Because if price also takes that into account, then we also need to take that into account. So right here, I do not really want to look for shorts currently off that daily value gap. Depending on what FOMC does as well, if FOMC already continues lower, then I would say, all right, let's first reach for that draw liquidity right there. Nifty, we talked about as well with DAX, where here it's just simply waiting for a retracement. And we are sweeping that previous week high right there. So if we can get 4 hour fair value gaps even lower off of this 4 hour fair value gap to then continue lower again, that could eventually be nice. But overall understanding, we're just simply bullish. So we do not want to call a top right there. That is very important. All right, on the shorts. So this one is quite interesting. Euro, New Zealand dollar right here. And this one is definitely quite nice. So right now, let's see. What are we doing? Euro, New Zealand dollar. We on the monthly, we're potentially sweeping this low. We can still continue lower overall. But we need to take into account if we get some bullish price action, as in if we get some bullish signs, then we want to be careful there. But on the weekly, we have the weekly fair value gap sitting right there, which we simply can continue lower off of. On the daily, we had, again, same scenario as on crude oil. Can you see this? Right there. Same scenario as on crude oil. We take that target right there, and then we come into the weekly fair value gap. So right there, we can continue lower off the weekly fair value gap as well. Like we mentioned, 4 hour right there, trade into it first. So here, this is also quite high on my interest list. Now, unless it wants to disrespect everything right there, and that would be, all right, now I'm not interested anymore. So this high currently, I don't want to see a trade above that high, back above that high right there. I right now would want to see lower prices off of fair value gaps, 4 hour fair value gaps being created to target these lows sitting right there. Now, to give you a better indication, let me actually pull up the news chart as well to actually see what news is saying. Of course, we have FOMC, but let's look at New Zealand dollar news as well later today and Euro news tomorrow. So later today, tomorrow as well, and going into Friday as well, Euro news. This could be very nice to actually finish that move lower because we have volatility agreeing to the idea as well. Very, very nice. I do quite like this. And this is definitely with New Zealand dollar, US dollar as well at the top of my interest list. So seeing whichever one wants to play out as well. Could be very nice here. Australian dollar JPY. This was also quite nice. And it's the same premise as US dollar JPY. Only thing is that we reached that weekly fair value gap. Did not really like that. We are creating weekly fair value gap lower as well. Moi, do not really like that. So we have the daily fair value gap, which again, we can continue lower off of if we reach an overlapping part, which is that breaker low right there. And then 4 hour fair value gaps lower. 4 hour fair value gaps lower, we had that right there. Now, overall, I do not really want to get involved here currently, as I do not really like the price action. I don't think, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, if we had time agreeing. Probably, yeah, later today, I believe we had time agreeing. So tomorrow could be interesting if we get that bearish price action again. Here, I just want to simply wait. USD dollar JPY, US dollar JPY is what we already went over. CHF JPY right here is the same premise on all these JPY pairs where we have that fair value gap. Ideally, something like this right there, coming into it to then 4 hour fair value gaps to continue lower off of that right there. So if we get that, could as well be interesting. GBP/JPY, same exact premise right there, where we can continue lower 4-hour value gaps to continue lower off of that. Could as well be quite interesting. New Zealand dollar JPY. So right here we came into that 4-hour value gap, eventually continue lower off of that. This 4-hour value gap is of course also quite nice to potentially sting into it, continue lower off of that right there. Then if we look at the long list, so these are all the pairs that I'm interested in potentially longing if we get the right price action. Here we see 3 instruments that are related, closely related to and directly with the US dollar. So here on all those 3, I want to wait for FOMC first to show what it actually wants to do right there. Because FOMC might just do something like this. Can continue higher right then, or can do something like this and then continue lower right there. Might do something crazy. So I want to wait for that first. Once FOMC is out of the way, then Thursday and Friday, so tomorrow, again, very interesting. NASDAQ right there, same story, what we already went over. Australian dollar, US dollar as well. Here, Australian dollar, US dollar is at the bottom of the interest list. Because here I would just want a new displacement higher first to actually continue higher. And again, if that gets invalidated with this, then I would just take a step back or look for shorts to target a weekly value gap or something along those lines lower as well. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, here, weekly value gap, it's very similar to Australian dollar, US dollar, where here it's just been consolidating and I just want to wait again. Want to wait either for value gaps higher or for value gaps lower. That's what I want to wait for right now. So that is currently what I am looking at, which is, again, quite interesting, right? That is currently what I am looking at. Let me see. I saw a question, by the way, if the website is ready. It's in the last stages, as in it's you can expect it to open up this week. So once it actually opens up, then we'll be ready to take you aboard as well. And then we will just have the normal monthly as well. So it's not just the $650 for the lifetime, etc. We'll just have the normal monthly subscription as well. Let me see. It was Liam. Okay. Yeah, it was the YouTube forecast then. All right. Perfect. I'm doing great, Eclipse. How are you doing? Eclipse. How are you doing? Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar looks interesting. Possible setup. Let me see. Here we have the weekly as well right there. Yes, this is quite interesting overall. Yes, if we're being very picky, then it's why I do not like this personally is because it was quite 50-50 at this moment. But it is a potential setup right there, for sure. You said you only trade once a week. I never said that I only trade once a week, but I do trade when there's opportunity. So usually that is once a week, but it really depends on whatever the opportunities are. But I never said that I only trade once a week. Let me see. My man cleared my Twitter query in 30 seconds. Not gonna lie, you are the best teacher. Potentially. Love that. Thank you. Love that. Thank you. Yeah. From where does he want to buy or sell? Buy right now. No. Don't do it. I'm not here for signals. The goal here, and that's always what I see in signals, is that if I wanted to do signals, it would be great. And it probably would have been the best business model there is. Why is that? Because I would make you reliant on me. So I would purely make you reliant on me, where you would be reliant on my trading knowledge, where my goal here is to make you reliant on yourself. I know it's very kind of me. No, but that is the goal, right? I want you to be reliant on yourself, not on me, not on anyone else. So you reliant on yourself to make money. That's my goal. That's absolutely my goal. Hey, Charlemagne, love to see it. Charlemagne, I like that name a lot. That means Charlemagne is, what is it? We call him in the Netherlands Karel de Grote. Which sounds a little bit goofy compared to Charlemagne, because Charlemagne is a beautiful name. He said, joined the mentorship 2 days ago, already paid it back, and then some X-ray vision on these markets. Love to see it. That is insane. Glenn Glenn, please reach out to info@ario.io and we will get you on the new plan as well. You don't need to renew it, so please do not renew it as well, and we'll get you into the new website already. So please reach out to that email and we'll get that sorted, Glenn. Come to Romania. I might have to. I would love to. Romania is a beautiful country from what I've heard. Could you take a quick look for your GBP? For sure. Oh, Murat, always for you. Always for you, my friend. Come on. Let me see. So we had the weekly VI gap, I reckon, right? That's what we talked about as well. Then on the monthly, weekly, we had this weekly VI gap right there. We first sweep those lows again, which I do not really like right there. This is what I mean, right? With the bigger the fair value gap, it's very funny. The bigger the fair value gap, usually we do not come into it just sting and then continue lower. The bigger the fair value gap, either it's manipulation or come into the overlapping part to then continue lower. So the ideal scenario for me when we have a big fair value gap like that is just to wait for 4-hour fair value gaps lower right there to confirm that we actually want to continue lower. In the meantime, I wouldn't want to do anything right there. Are you married, Aaron? Not yet. No. Don't buy Mamba single, guys. Just watch Aro the Goat. Oh, yeah. Don't buy any signals. Even if I start to offer your signals in the future, then somewhere along the lines I've messed up. I'm very desperate if that actually happens, which will never happen, but just saying it. It's, let me see. I want to say something about signals, because the reason I say everything that I say is I don't want to sound weird and just say things. No, it's actually from my experience, because I've also done signals, of course. I've also had the temptation to fall into signals when I just started out and to follow signals, and it never worked because you just relied on someone. And at first I was like, well, what does it matter to be reliant on someone else, right? But over time you'll see it's the most important part. It's the most important part to only be reliant on yourself. It's very important. How old are you? I am 22 years old currently. I'm still a young fella. You don't look like 21 years old. I hear that quite often, actually, that I don't look and I don't act like I'm 22 years old, which is quite funny, but I take it as a compliment. But yeah, I guess it happens when you don't follow the usual path of partying and all that stuff. I guess that happens then. Which, of course, nothing wrong with it. It's just not my cup of tea. I just don't really like it. Never really liked it. Let me see. What has Zach to say? Zach always has something good to say. Come on. Yeah, Zach always has something good to say. And to be honest, let me make Zach as well a moderator right here, because Zach is a support member in the money making team, actually. Let me see. Just so he has this blue name that he deserves and people know who he is. What country are you from? I am from the Netherlands. Lol, I thought you were somewhere between 28 and 32. No, I'm still very young. I like to call myself, well, I am very young with quite some life experience. And I think that makes a lot of difference. You're super mature, bro. That's really good. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah. Let me see. Does time apply to your trades? Yes, always, Senna. Always. Time is the most important thing. As in price, the way I see it, it's funny because we went over this in the money making team actually recently, where the first thing you want to agree with is price, of course, because price will always do its thing. There will always be an entry pattern. So for example, what I meant with in the beginning of this live stream as well is that I do not really understand when people try to trade the Tuesday and Wednesday as in CPI and FOMC right there. And the reason for that is because price is agreeing. Yes, price is always agreeing. Price is always going to have a setup. The differentiator is when is time agreeing. So time is the most important thing, I would argue, right there, because that is the true differentiator. Time, not price, because price is always going to be the same. So it's very important. Yes, I do use ICT concept. So I always like to explain this as well a little bit and quickly. I learned the basics from ICT, but I was not in a special mentorship or anything. I was just a guy who was studying the crap out of everything on his own. So a lot of concepts that I'm using right here are, I like to call them my concepts. Don't want to claim them or anything, because again, I think there might be someone else out there that has the same concepts that came to the same discovery, but it did not get taught to me by anyone. So the basics I learned by ICT, and that is order blocks, fair value gaps. The understanding, the full understanding behind them was all through my own study. Yeah, Ari, oh my, what you're about to say, that's exactly I literally had that thought process literally when we just started the stream, Ari. That's crazy. This chat is going crazy. I remember the days when there was 40 people only. You've came a long way, bro. Respect. Thank you. That is insane. That is very true. People like Ari and Sean, they've been here since the beginning. It's crazy. And that was exactly my thought process as well, because I remember in the beginning of the stream, I saw the chat and it's like a lot of questions where I used to go over every single question because I simply could, because there was not a lot of questions to go over, which, yeah, I'm very grateful for that. It's absolutely insane. And again, I wouldn't be nothing without everyone here. It's insane. What is your biggest win so far? I believe the EU trades that I had, what was in November, this one was one of my biggest winners so far, which I made 13,000 on a single day right there. That was one of the biggest winners I had so far on one singular trade ID. Other than that, percentage-wise, because that was not percentage-wise, as in percentage-wise, that was not the most that I made. It was just, my capital is just a lot. So it's quite unfair, because someone that makes more percentage than me could be doing better, but as in could make more percentage than me. I just made more money with with more capital, so less percentage risk overall. Percentage-wise, that was a very long time ago actually, and I think it's still on my Instagram. Whoa, what was it again? I held somewhere. I'm not sure where it was exactly. I would have to see on my Instagram, but I had one trade where I had something like this, where I had the lows somewhere around there and I held all the way to the top right there. And it was just a sort of a 1 minute trade that turned into almost a position trade, because I just held and held and held. I think it ended up to be 10% around that time. Do you have trade PM session? Sian, is this the Sian? Don't act like I don't remember you, my friend. Sian, love to see you on Twitter, man. You're doing a great job. Thank you for that. And do you have a trade PM session? Yes, I do. And yes, I do. Mostly, I like Power Hour a lot, so it really depends on what's happening in the PM session as well. As in, if, for example, we just come into a 1 hour for value gap right there, I had this one, which we went over. It's really fun inside as well. So here, I trade PM session, simply because we're coming into that 1 hour for value gap. Then I confirm that. So for me, there's no difference. As in, if the boundary hits for me, so we just have the 1 hour for value gaps hit right there, and I can allow myself to go into the 1 minute time frame, then right there, that's all I'm doing. So what you'll see as well, and that was the fun insight, is that here, usually this is seen, the stereotype is this is a lunch session. So you don't want to get involved. That is true to a certain extent, but I like to use the analogy right there that if you were finishing a task before you wanted to take lunch, and you're just like, oh, I want to finish this before I actually go off, then do you think you'll finish that before you actually take the lunch? So here, for example, the market maker, or you could see is the algorithm, etc. Does it want to take lunch right there? No, because it's moving from that PD ray to this PD ray right there. So it first will give you trading opportunities, and then afterwards, it will consolidate right there. So it really depends on what we do on the 1 hour, etc. Love to see it, Sian. If anyone wants to check out Sian, he's quite active on Twitter. I follow him since a very long time, actually, since I didn't have any followers on Twitter. Yeah, I remember being infused at Discord, all the Dutch people. It's quite a long time ago. I remember that. That's funny. That's funny. I like that. What's in MMT? MMT is it's called the money making team. Money making team is the reason why it's called the money making team. I'll explain that really quickly. It's understanding on why we are trading, because I think a lot of people are trading for trying to find out an algorithm or figure out an algorithm, which if that's your hobby, feel free to do so. But when I came into trading, I think my goal was to make money and to have some freedom. That was very important for me, which I never felt like there was someone to just be straight up with me and say, if you want to make money in trading, do these steps right there. And that is why it's called the money making team in the first place. Then what do we have in the money making team? Well, since we follow that philosophy, we understand, all right, we need to have clear steps to actually guide us to that understanding. So that is what we focus on, and that structure is in the money making team. Do you have a free Discord? Currently, no. I do not, but I will likely look into it as well. So it's definitely something we're working on for sure. What do you do during news time when your trade is already running? That's a great question, and that really depends. As in, let me see. That really depends on overall where the position is. If I was to take a 1 minute trade right here, and we have FOMC coming up, then we need to understand 1 minute, the stop loss is likely, relatively seen, going to be quite small. So your slippage here, if you get taken out, is going to be insane. It's not going to be fun at all. So you want to close this position right there. But as a general rule of thumb, 1 hour entries and above, if you're in a 1 hour entry or above, then it's perfectly fine to hold the trade during news as well. Perfectly fine to hold the trade. Tell me, all right, I'll answer the question. Tell me about time frame alignment. So time frame alignment is essentially how you want to see time frames. It's your toolbox, as in everything revolves around those time frames. So when we have a PD ray, for example, the 4 hour PD ray right there, and we want to trade off that 4 hour PD ray. Now we can take 4 hour entries. I do not really want to take 4 hour entries right there. So what I want to do is I want to confirm that on a time frame. If I take a 1 minute right there and I go into the 1 minute time frame, that is a little bit too low, because the 4 hour PD ray in general is a little bit too big to then confirm it on the 1 minute time frame, if that makes sense. Then likely what's going to happen in a general instance is that you're going to take quite a few losses before you get the right move. So we need to combine the time frames almost perfectly, and then we can look at the right entry pattern. So in this case, that would be the 5 minute. There's a reason behind that as well, which is in the money making team. But overall, if you copy my time frames, you're perfectly fine. Then the next thing is about alignment as well, is that we need to have them in context, which I also call alignment. So meaning right there is that, for example, on the weekly time frame, well, let's start on the monthly actually, because it starts with the monthly. On the monthly, we understand right here that we have this context high sitting right there. Then we have this low being created. So there's no reason to come back towards that low right there, because we're just simply following the context of fair value gap. On the weekly right now, we have this weekly fair value gap. So ideally, there's no reason to come back below that weekly fair value gap. Would we take a trade on the weekly? No, because that stop loss is quite big. We don't all want to be position traders, so we refine constantly our stop loss. That is where time frame alignment comes in. So here, for example, on the daily, all right, daily is now in context of the weekly because it's below the weekly. 4 hour right there, perfect. We have this 4 hour value gap is now in context, meaning everything below that is in context again. On the 1 hour, it's in context. So they're all aligned, pointing towards these highs right there. So that is what you want to have ideally, where the fair value gaps are constantly in context. And in context, simply meaning that, for example, below this low right there, there is not a daily fair value gap or weekly fair value gap below that low in this area right there, because then it would have a reason to come back below that 4-hour fair value gap right there. So everything is in context. Any way of joining right now? Yes, the website is what is it? It's under construction, as in it's the last bit of work. Everything is currently working. We need to get the last details in to actually open it up, and probably tomorrow or the day after that. Let me see. All right. Euro Canadian dollar. Let me see, my friend. Let me see. Euro Canadian dollar. What is going on? So first thing, the reason I did not want to trade this was because we just came in this weekly value gap. So next target could be that weekly value gap to also continue lower off of that right there. So in the meantime, if we get 4-hour price action, which we currently have to align right there towards the weekly value gap, could be quite nice, actually, right there. It's actually quite interesting. Right there. Overall, we need to understand the highest probability trades are waiting for the weekly value gap to continue lower off of that right there. So overall, that's the highest probability. But this could be quite nice right here. So let's see if we have something to work with again. On the 15-minute, well, not really. And it's also getting late for Forex like Euro Canadian dollar right there. So here what I would do is I would wait for tomorrow London session, see if the idea is still there, fair value gaps higher, to then follow them to continue into the weekly value gap potentially. Let's see. I heard from Iman ICT is a scammer. Yeah, but it's let me tell you something about that. I don't think ICT is a scammer. Let me tell you that first, because everything I do is the basics I do here is based around ICT as well. So I think a lot of the times it is easier to call someone a scammer and to be negative about someone than to actually put in the work and to actually make it work. For example, ICT, understanding ICT is quite difficult, right? So it's quite easy. The easy path for me is to call and to call him a scammer and to just say, oh, it doesn't work, etc., blah, 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 blah. And then just go that route instead of actually putting in the work and seeing, all right, it might work. He might say something that actually makes sense. So that's the way I view it as well. And other than that, I would say don't pay attention to it. The concepts work. People have done it before us. People have done it before you. So the concepts work. There's no reason for us to call an ICT scammer. And even if ICT, and I think every human being in the world has some negative things around them, if that makes sense, as in they're not the perfect ones. Everyone has some faults here and there, for example. So other than that, it's just like, yeah, it's just very futile. It's just that negative behavior, and try to avoid negativity. Negativity is very bad. It's a virus almost, where if you get the virus of negativity, then your life is just a downward spiral, and it's just very difficult to get out. So always try to surround yourself with positive people, even on YouTube. Try to surround yourself with positivity. Always. Very important. Very important. What's up, Alex? Can't wait to join the MMT. Love to see it. We'll be waiting for you, Haru. We'll be waiting for you. Keep us updated. What's up, Fabi? How are you doing? I gotta go to school, bro. Come on. You gotta go to school. Go do it, man. Go do it. First go to school, afterwards it will all be worth it. First go to school, and afterwards it will always be worth it. How much do you bench? Oof. Don't get me started. Come on, don't put me on the spot, Sion. Don't put me on the spot. No. How much do I bench? I think at my top, it was 100 kilos. 100 kilos. Around probably 90, 100 kilos. Right there. I haven't done a PR in a long time, to be honest. So if I do 100 right now, I'll probably break everything. Let me see. Soon you're going to get a shout out from ICT. Oh, I'm not sure about that. To be honest. Let me see. Let me see. Yes, I've gone over gold in the beginning, actually. Yes, yes, yes. I'm happy to join the live stream. Transio from Zambia and Africa. Love to see it. My dream car. My dream car is a Porsche 911 Turbo. What is it again? Fabian knows the name. Fabi, who just joined, knows the exact name. Probably. What kind of results are the MMT gang getting? Well, yeah, the money making team is essentially making money. So it's the funny as well. It's the money making team invests money into the money making team, and then they make more money than they invested. So essentially, their goal of making money is getting achieved, and that is what we're seeing through the funded accounts, etc. People, not even people in the money making, don't get me wrong, even people from the YouTube here, just in the live stream from the free YouTube, from the just the free YouTube, are making money where they send me their certificates through email as well, which is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Tearing a back muscle, yeah, oof. Have you ever seen those videos where people tear? Oh man, gives me traumas instantly. What is your favorite city in Colombia? Oof, I currently in Medellin, so I do prefer Medellin a lot over Bogota. Bogota was, for me, moi. Medellin is a lot nicer to me. Armenia, I've also been there, which I really like. Villavicencio, it's also quite nice. Other than that, Armenia was really nice, to be honest. It was really nice. But the bigger city, I would say Medellin. Do you still go to uni, Ario? No. I've for me, I've never gone to university. Just to tell you the story, I was always an early student. So I finished my high school when I was 15. Yes, when I was 15, I finished high school. So at that time, I did 2 years of, you could call it, university. It was informatica. It was computer science, basically. And what I did right there is I had the chance to go play basketball professionally, which was always my dream. So at 17, I moved out of the country, essentially, and I stopped doing uni. So since that time, I've always been focused on essentially this. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you. Hi, how are you? I want to share my thoughts about your A to Z guide. I haven't completed it yet, but I'm around episode 29. I was also learned about IC before, but when I started from your guide, believe me, my whole way of thinking changed. I finally started to understand narrative and context about markets. Everything started to make more sense now to me. Thank you for your guide, truly. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you. That's insane, actually. That's insane. What are your thoughts about university? I do not really have a bad thing to say about university. I think those people are also very important. We can't all just skip university and do our thing. But other than that, I would say finish your university and take that time potentially in university to also focus on something like a side hustle. That's what I would advise. But don't just blindly skip university, as in don't just blindly, if the opportunity is there, potentially take it. It depends on your circumstances as well. But don't just blindly skip it, I would say. It's also very important. Do you ride a motorbike? I used to always have a scooter in the Netherlands, but I actually crashed that scooter once. But I do not have a motorbike, but I would love to have one. Let me see. I saw Limitless, by the way. Limitless, just a sneaky $3 right there. I didn't even notice it. Limitless, thank you, my man. Thank you. That is insane. Your support has been insane, Limitless. Thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you. I was here since you had 5k subs. Yeah, that's insane. Thank you. Thank you for always being here. Are you tall and handsome? Of course. I'm tall and handsome. No. I am quite tall. Yes, I am 6'5". Yes, I'm 6'5". 2 meters for the other metric people. Let me see. A quick out of context question. How tall are you? I'm curious because you play basketball. I also like. I'm 6'5". Yes, 2 meters. Your Spanish pronunciation is improving. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. I try to do my best. I understood everything about trading through you. Thanks, Ario. Maybe someday in your team. Thanks for everything. Thank you, Ali. Thank you. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you, thank you. Liza, we are working on that, Liza, where the Essentials also has that support. We are working on it. So currently, no, but we are working on it. So hopefully in the future. Yes, hopefully. I hope we can catch a beer sometime. Hopefully we can. Well, it would be pretty crazy, no? If we have all the live viewers here, 500 people in one place. Ooh. What is a sign and symptoms that fair value gap is going to fill? That is something we'll go over actually Saturday this video. Now, a sign that a fair value gap wants to fill. For example, here on Euro Canadian dollar, how can we tell that this fair value gap right there wants to actually fill? Well, we can tell that through different ways. Where first of all, we can wait for it to close inside the fair value gap right there. There's already first indication to me that a fair value gap wants to fill. For example, this fair value gap right there held. Why? We're only wicking it right there. We're currently only wicking it. So it's a great sign. It's a great sign. But of course, we are not waiting for a lot of 4-hour candles to wait if the fair value gap wants to actually fill. No. So the fair value gaps failing on the higher time frame is being told by the fair value gaps failing on the lower time frame. For example, on the 15-minute here, if we start to fill and disrespect all these fair value gaps, which currently we might actually seem like we're doing, then that overall, this fair value gap also becomes weak right there. Because in an ideal scenario, let's say high probability price action, what should have happened here? This right there should have already pushed higher right there with a new fair value gap. Now, this is also where time comes in, because time right here was not agreeing. So overall, we can still expect higher prices if we get new fair value gaps higher right there. Then that could still be very nice. Hey, you said the lower time frame will let you know whether price will trade to the higher time fair value gap. For example, what time frame daily fair value gap tells you whether price will go to a weekly fair value gap? Yes. What time frame daily tells you whether price will? Yes, exactly. Daily or 4-hour will. So, for example, Nasdaq was a beautiful example right here. And let us see. On the daily right here, we had this previous daily fair value gap right there, which that daily fair value gap did not create a new daily fair value gap higher off of that, which we mentioned very early at around this time that we also had a weekly fair value gap below price action right there. So that indication was already there to say to us or to tell us, hey, we want to trade into the weekly fair value gap right there. Then if 4-hour fair value gaps also start to align to actually continue lower, then that eventually is almost defined where it's almost 100% sure that we are going to trade into that weekly fair value gap sitting right there. If that makes sense. If that makes sense. Can I see your two indicators on chart? Yes, for sure. It's nothing crazy. It's watermarks. So for text, it's for the mentorship. It's the 2 watermarks. That's it. Oh yeah, Hope also said it. Yeah, exactly. I've been at the hospital with my dad watching these live streams and it helped my fund account up 7R. Love to see it. And first of all, hopefully everything is okay, my man. Hopefully everything is okay. Stay strong. You got this. Come on. Hopefully everything is okay. Wishing you the best. How your love life? My love life is alright. I have a girlfriend, so it's alright. You're more than just a mentor. You're like a friend. And I think that's very important, right? Because I think the teachers you used to learn from in high school, that you actually like to learn from as well, were people you actually liked. And if you don't like them, it's quite hard to learn from them, at least from my understanding. It's quite, the way I always see it is like when you had a teacher, even though you knew they were right and they were probably saying something very logical, but just because you didn't like them or you didn't have that click with them, you want to go against them. And I think that's very important, where if you like someone, then you also more so listen to them. Where taking advice from a stranger, which you do not like, is always, of course, a little bit difficult. But if you like them and you trust them, it becomes easier. Does fair value gap work on gold? Yes, for sure. You have to come to Italy. Oh, I love Italy. I've lived in Italy for 2 years. Because that's where I play basketball, actually. I love Italy. I was in San Benedetto del Tronto. Wow, that's the most American pronunciation that you can have. Sorry for that. Sorry to all the Italians. San Benedetto del Tronto. And I was in Sicily, in Messina. Major are bullish and gulping. From Thailand. Love to see it. Lovely Thailand. I like Thailand as well. I like that. Let me see. What a great live stream today. Thank you. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you. Because you are here, we can do this actually. And we can have a great live stream. I like the idea of having the live stream on Wednesday though. I'm not going to lie. I saw the results. I like the idea. Maybe it's a bit of a dictator move from me. I'm sorry. But I like the idea of having it on Wednesday. And the reason for that is because, what is it? There's a bit more time between Sunday and Tuesday, where on Tuesday, usually I just mention the same things that I did on Sunday, where here I have something more to talk about. That's a great question. What do you think about AI impacted trading in future? Well, in general, I think AI, yes, it's probably going to replace certain things. But people like us, people that are just putting in the work, people like us that have the creative mindset, etc., AI is not going to replace us. We are the creators of AI. How can that's not going to work? Like the things we make is not going to replace us. That doesn't work like that. And I think the human brain is way more advanced than an AI, because the human brain was able to create an AI. So overall, AI is not going to replace us. But people that struggle with certain things, yes, you have a high odds of being replaced in certain areas, or it might help you with certain areas as well. So AI in trading, I think that will just more so be as well like an algorithm. I don't think it will make a huge difference. But other than that, yeah, I would see it the same as an algorithm that we currently already have, if that makes sense. What's your standard risk for a trade? Standard risk for me is 1%. And I can go higher, I can also go lower. So sometimes I have 2% risk in a trade. But in months like this, for example, December here, is where I drop my risk significantly. 0 to 25% potentially, even 0 to 5%, something like that. Can you apply ICT concepts to NAS 100 and US 30? For sure, Myron. For sure. 100%. 100%. Yes, for sure. For sure. Gotta go. Hope to catch you on the next one. Love to see it, Mello. Love to see it. Thank you for being here. And see you at the next one. Before I go, favorite basketball player of all time has always been Kobe Bryant. Always been Kobe Bryant. Was my idol growing up, Kobe Bryant. It's my favorite basketball player of all time. And greetings from India. All right. I'm also going to end it here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Love you all. Great live stream today. And let's see if we can do more live streams as well on Wednesday right here. And great live stream. Remember what we talked about. Be careful here. Be careful with what is it? Be careful with FOMC overall. And like I also see right now, I saw where Paladin told not to trade December. Do you agree? I agree. Definitely agree. And that is, again, where if you already made profits throughout the year, December is not a month where you want to trade. So be careful in December overall as well, because it's just not the greatest month to trade out there. It's better to get prepared and focus on case studies, focus on potentially finishing your trading plan to get ready for 2024. So if you're in that stage, I would say get ready for 2024. That is where the main action again is going to be. All right. Thank you all. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Love you all and see you at the next one. Perfect. Thank you.